for conflict of interest. I'd like to disclose these are the organizations that I am represented, have business ties to, etc. So just for full disclosure, and in particular, the Clean Learning Program, which I own. So talking about education, I just feel it's important that I disclose that. So I'd like to, this particular slide here, on one side you see the building. This is St. Michael's Hospital. It's a newer version of St. Mike's, but I want to take it back to 1974 because that little guy beside at St. Mike's is me. That was my first job in housekeeping. The C is my coach or leadership position. The reason I put that up there is that I'm not kidding. When I arrived at St. Michael's, I was a little guy like that, and I was given a huge responsibility in housekeeping. So I was a leader. I was in charge of a group of 8 individuals, and I knew nothing about housekeeping. So the first thing I had to do was learn how to clean. So when I arrived at St. Michael's Hospital, the teaching program at that time was the buddy system. It was a really good system. You link up with someone and they take you around and they show you all the good things to do and how to do it, and you try to listen. And there were some challenges. One, about 90% of the housekeeping team back then were Portuguese, and about 80% of that 90% didn't speak any English. So the language barrier was reversed. So I was teamed up with individuals that had to teach me how to clean that didn't speak English. So, but it's interesting because that wasn't a barrier. I was still able to pick up the training. But the real barrier is the issue around the fact that not everyone is a good trainer. They could be a good cleaner, but not a good trainer. The other piece with it is that I would work with one team member, taught one way, and then go to another team member and taught the same process or technique that had to be done, but done differently. So you relate to this. So it's really interesting how back in 40 plus years ago, as a junior individual working in housekeeping, that there was a huge need for environmental services program and training. Now there were some out there, but through the Ontario Hospital Association, to name a few, the United States had some through the Catholic Health Association. So there's some of the things that we're able to work from. So my belief is that you can improve the quality of clean through certification. Now this is a trademark through Clean Learning, which is associated with the Canadian Association of Environmental Management. I don't expect you to read this slide, but I want to show you this. Because even back in the 70s, there was a certification program for environmental managers, not for frontline staff. I mean, you think about this. The frontline staff didn't need any credentials. It just, as long as you were able to physically do the job, it was okay to do the job. So I don't expect you to read this, but down one column is basically a whole bunch of traits that this association was looking for out of the management team. And then on the far side, it's rating. So you get 50 points for that. And, there's things down here like psychology and, supervisory skills, etc. And it was a very subjective way of measuring. So if I took a course, I would send that off to the director of education for CAM, as we'll call it. And the individual will sit in his or her office and look at it and say, yeah, I'll give them 10 points for that one or 25 points, without even knowing the value of the course or whether I even spent a minute in the course, just got the certificate for attending. So as much as it was something, it needed some improvement. So as my career moved on, I was invited to what they called a group of infection prevention specialists in the Kingston or the Waterloo area. And they asked me to join them at a really important meeting. There were about 20 people in the room. And they said, Keith, we really need in our region a training program. And we want to base it on best practice standards. And I said, this is fantastic. I've been in, at that time, well over 30 years in the business. And I'm sitting here with a group of infection prevention people that are finally trying to take interest in environmental services. So I'm thrilled. And then I looked at them and I said, there's no standard. And they said, what do you mean there's no standard? And they said, well, in order to build a training program, we got to build a standard. And they said, why wouldn't that exist? So as luck would have it, I was actively involved in the Canadian, or CAM, Canadian Association of Environmental Management, so if I reference that, CAM. I was actively involved in the board. I'm president of the association today, and I was then. So this is an opportunity for collaboration. So as luck would have it, the Provincial Infectious Diseases Advisory Committee invited us to the table. And they said, this is run through Public Health Ontario. We're going to write standards. So in 2009, this document came out, 155 pages of how to best practice clean and disinfect our hospitals. So it's a guideline. It's not the law. It's not regulated, but it has a lot of clout. So when the document came out in 2009, put the cleaning industry and the healthcare sector in a tailspin. It was really interesting because my phone was ringing off the hook saying, how do I do this? I don't have the resources. I don't understand this. I don't understand that. At the same time, all this was going on. I don't know if you saw this segment on Marketplace, dirty hospitals. Now, it's unfortunate because this one particular facility, which was multiple sites, about 8 sites, were the unlucky ones to have Marketplace go in and do some glow germ. It's where they mark it, and then they come back a week later and still find the glow germ there. I know from my colleagues that if they came into the hospital that I was working for, they'd find the same. Because the reality is that the resources weren't there. So it was a concern. Shortly after this segment came out, they also did dirty hotels. I don't know if you saw that. I can, if you want, I'll leave my card. If anybody wants to see these, I can email you the link to be able to open these up and watch them. Dirty hotels really caught my eye. Because in the dirty hotels, they filmed, they actually put a hidden camera in the bathroom and checked out of the hotel. And they observed the housekeeper cleaning the bathroom and cleaning the room. And what they observed was going from the toilet bowl with the toilet brush to the sink. It's filmed. And I know you sound shocked about this, but there's a process of cleaning. There's a lot of right ways to do it and a lot of wrong ways to do it. And that's a good example of wrong way. But we also saw the individual wearing utility gloves and picking up the drinking glass, looking in the mirror, and just polishing it with the cloth. I think it was a towel, tea towel, and put it back down. Didn't wash it, didn't clean it, just polished it. So pretty appalling concerns. But the reality is this happens, and it happens today. In our healthcare facilities, now I'll just ask, a lot of healthcare here? Few? Okay, good. School boards, hotels? Perfect. The reality is this exists today. Over 200,000 individuals that go into our hospitals will contract an infection, we call it a hospital-acquired infection. And about 7,500 of those, close to 8,000, will die. It's a huge issue in our healthcare system, but we're not alone. It's also the community-acquired infections are on the rise. So our school boards. Last week we hosted our CAM conference, and we had Deborah Hayden from Toronto District School Board do a presentation on an outbreak in a college residence back in January. Over 300 kids, as we call them, because I can call them a kid, contracted norovirus. And there were a lot of steps in the process that happened that could have been avoided to protect those individuals. So lessons learned. This is me again, a little older now, just moving along my history here. A little more hair than I have in the back right now. But so this is where this whole vision came. So PIDAC came out with their best practice document. we're hearing that there's a real issue out there. Our association is trying to pull things together as much as we can. So we said, you know what? Why don't we take the PIDAC best practice document, healthcare, best practice cleaning and disinfectant, and apply the principles of those types of cleaning in other sectors. Makes sense. I mean, there's really simple stuff here. In those sectors, you're going to get blood and body spills. You get the vomiting and diarrhea, just like we mentioned about the college. So is there a way to create one standard of clean for the industry as a benchmark, knowing that in the healthcare sector, there will be specific protocols that are required for isolation, cleaning, etc. But once learned in these other sectors, is it a positive thing? And we believe so. So that's where we say our vision with this whole project a few years back is to improve the quality of clean through certification. Let's set the bar for environmental managers so they clearly understand what the expectation is for cleaning these healthcare facilities, our schools, etc., and give them a tool to teach the frontline staff and have them certified. Now, this is big because there is no certification program for the frontline staff that was credible in the industry. It's a big, huge task. So we're talking about creating a national certification program across Canada for institutional, hospitality, healthcare, commercial, and in-house cleaning. So it doesn't matter if you're contractor, in-house, whatever, but one standard of clean for the cleaning industry. So it was a really unique approach for this because one standard cleaning program, a consistent training program. Remember I told you about my experience when I was a little guy? You know, someone's good intentions, teaching me how to do it this way and then teach me how to do it that way. Same process, but totally different. Core competency program, a program that measures the capabilities or the knowledge base of the individual. So we actually understand that they got it, they understood it. So that means test, core competency. And a certification program, a program to recognize and bring the level of environmental cleaning to where it should be in the industry. Change the focus. A lot of facilities do not appreciate the importance of housekeeping. And one of the things I didn't learn when I was being taught at St. Michael's Hospital was how important my role was. In fact, I didn't even know what my role was, other than give me a rag and help me clean. I quickly learned, going back then, that there's more to cleaning and that the role is extremely important. So I quickly learned from the buddy system that cleaning visually, if it looks clean, it is clean, and that's sort of the basics. So at least I understood that if it looked clean, that it gave a good image to the facility. So that's a positive. But I didn't realize as well that there were other elements to that. That it's important that I understood that if I clean properly and clean frequently enough, that it also contributes to the investment of the facility. Now we've got suppliers here. You talk to ProTeam or any of the other vacuum suppliers, they will tell you if you increase the frequency of your vacuuming, you'll extend the life of your carpet. That's investing in the property. So things like this. But then there's another element associated with this as well, and that's infection prevention. It's what you don't see. So cleaning what you don't see. I talked about the videotape of Marketplace for someone going from the toilet to the sink, and I saw your face. It happens. I see it. I'm a consultant. I get out there. So we said, when we looked at the program, we said we're going to look at levels of certification. So the first level is the CEH, which is a Certified Environmental Housekeeper, and the second being the manager, CEM, and then the CET. So again, building the morale and appreciating the fact that these are important roles, that what they do matters, and recognizing them. So the CET is the entire facility gets certified. So they can put it up there and say, this facility, regardless of what type of housekeeping or what type of facility is, and they're still providing housekeeping, that is based on healthcare best practice cleaning standards. So a training program recognized at the moment, it's recognized by CAM as well as the AHSS out of Quebec. That's the Quebec Association on the side. And we're still out there right now looking to take this type of program, and if we can get it regulated, yahoo. We will see environmental or hospital-acquired infections that are related to environmental transmission reduced, guaranteed. So we went to work. When PIDAC came out, that document, the 155-page document, CAM, along with the Ontario Hospital Housekeepers Association and the Regional Infection Control Networks of Ontario, collaborated and created what we called an environmental toolkit. Now, this toolkit is still available today on the Public Health website. You can download it. It basically is there's 6 modules on infection prevention as it relates to environmental cleaning. Really, really good tool, and it was a foundation for what we developed for clean learning. So when it came out, I have to tell you, I was part of the process of putting it together, the old document, and funding was changing at the time because it was a provincially funded initiative, and we had to make some changes. The regional infection control networks were changing their roles under Public Health Ontario. People were changing. We had a window of about 2 months to wrap this project up, and we released it. So as good as it was, we made mistakes. So we looked back and as an association and we said, what can we do to make it better? And this is what we did. We said, well, there's more to cleaning than infection prevention. It's important, but there's more to it. We said that the modules that we did needed some additional expertise. We pulled it together with the resources that we had. We're good, but we weren't great. So we went to change it and to add new videos, make it multicultural, etc. We got a web-based program, so you go online after module 3, 6, 9, and 12 and do a core competency review. There are 12 modules, by the way, so these are the modules. I'm going to go through them quickly, not the details. Fundamentals of housekeeping, again, understanding the importance of their role, and that's what it's all about, why we have to clean. We picked an adaptive leadership program based on the fact that this is a leadership quality that's based on leading at the moment of need. So the housekeepers are out there, they see that something needs to be reported, report it. Workplace safety, infection prevention, cleaning tools and equipment, cleaning tasks, cleaning disinfectant practices, waste management, sustainability, environmental sustainability, cleaning audits, waste management, pest control, and ergonomics, because all these are elements of housekeeping that we had to deal with. So we started off with 10 modules as a vision, and we moved quickly on to expanding to 12 modules because each module took about an hour and a half, and we didn't want to extend it even further. I mentioned that there's a core competency review afterwards, so that's the test. The manager and supervisor get certified, that's the idea. Then they take the program and they start teaching their frontline staff. Now here's where the core competencies start to develop. If one manager has 40 employees, as an example, and you're training them in clusters of maybe 12 at a time in a classroom, each module, by the time you get to the last cluster, you become an expert because you're repeating. So the tool is there just as a guide to help you through. So once they get certified, everyone gets certified, you get your CET. There's a 3-year certification with it. That's what it looks like. I successfully completed it. So it's a certification program that's nationally recognized. It's a training tool that's designed for quality outcomes. And again, it's one standard of clean for all levels of staff, which is a really cool event. There's a core competencies documented, so it's immediate. When they do the test, they have to get 75% or better to move on to the next 3 modules. The managers and supervisors are privy to the information. You can actually put your email into the test when they take it so that you can log it And what's good about that is if you're teaching a group of individuals and you see that one particular module they're struggling with, you can go back and refresh. And of course, talk about due diligence, etc. So we had marketing contributors who are listed here that we partnered with to bring in the most recent tools and equipment to be able to demonstrate. It's not a marketing piece, but we just recognize those. We had program contributors. So the pest control module, we had the supports of Orkin, our Health and Safety, we had Public Health Safety Association, our ergonomics, we had an ergonomics professional, a team who looked at every video, and if their mopping was off and they had the wrist flexion wrong, they wouldn't pass it. That's how detailed we went with this. So the Canadian Coalition of Green Healthcare did the sustainability. And then we had the partners we did to get different videos. Tivoli Films was the production crew that we hired. We found a facility, Grey Bruce Health, that had a complete ward closed. We did the filming there, so it worked out really well. So I want to quickly go through a couple of things. This is there's 3 locations that I'm really proud of. There's a lot of facilities using it, but this is a mental health facility in the West Coast. They were one of the first to get the CET certifications, and this is a small group. And what's interesting with there is Linda here, who's on your left, who's the manager. When she started out, she started with a small group. She has about 40 employees, and this was first group. By the time the message got out to the others that these individuals were getting certified, it was amazing. The other group wanted to get certified, which is an amazing thing. They even agreed with the union to come in on their own time to get certified. I was pretty proud of that. This is a group of school board, 28 managers at the University of Alberta. What's unique about this team is we put a special program together for them. They wanted their managers to be really understand the program. Half of these managers are contract staff, are managers for the contract firm. The other half are in-house. Pulled together in one room to work collaboratively. It's amazing. So just some of the pictures that go along, that's core competency. That's how they decided to do it right in the room after each module. So it's nationally, now we're global. We took the Clean Learning Program to King Faisal facility in Saudi Arabia in 2014 and certified 35 managers there. Last October, another 15 managers in Saudi Arabia again because they built a new tower. And if you're doing the math, it's one of the largest facilities in Riyadh, in the kingdom actually, and they have 50 managers, environmental service managers for that site, well above what we have here. And I started with a photo of me at the beginning as a little boy in front of St. Michael's Hospital. This is me in front of the King Faisal Hospital in Riyadh. Thank you.